Okay, this is a 2010 Kia Forte Sedan, and what I'm going to be doing today is putting in an aftermarket speaker. No one else made this video, so I thought I would take the chance and do it. First thing you need to know is there is a screw behind here, a screw behind here, and then you have a screw right here. You have to pop this thing in the center out, and then you can get to that screw. Over here we have the speaker that we're going to be installing. We have a box cutter. We're going to have to cut the old speaker out, and then we're going to need the hammer to kind of beat some stuff out. You'll see what I'm talking about. I have these tools here to use so that way I don't damage anything. Maybe you'll have one of these. I really wouldn't suggest using it, but if you have nothing else, then yeah, this kit only costs like $5, so it's not a bad thing to pick up. I got this here to help me remove the door, some drill bits to kind of make stuff a little bit easier for me, and then the drill, obviously. And then this little thingamajig here is called a T15, and if you don't have one of those, you can use Allen wrenches. Probably for this it might be easier to use this tool. Yeah, so you just pop that out right there, take this screw out, and pop that one out, and then we're going to pop this one out while we're at it. Remember, try to be careful because this stuff scratches really easy. Take this screw out, take this screw out, and now we are ready to pop the panel off. I don't know what they call these things, but the stuff that holds the door, and we got 3 here, 2 across the bottom, and I believe 3 here. There we go. It's gonna probably sound like you're breaking it, but don't worry, you're not. Oh, and I should also point out, you need to remove this part as well. There's just 3 of those things in here. You just pop that right off. Then, you lift up, pop it up a little bit if you have to. And the first thing you're gonna wanna do, come in here, is disconnect the power for the window and just set this gently off to the side. Some of these things won't come out. All you gotta do is kind of pump them. Actually, that is where these things come in handy. So you just get in here and pop them out. And then you'll have to put them back on, obviously, when you go to put the door panel back on. And what we're going to do here, first I'm going to disconnect it. And this, on the other side, there's a connector to it. You'll see that'll actually come in handy later on. First thing we're going to do, take this box cutter and just cut as far to the outside as you can. Just going ahead and cut that right out of there. I feel so bad doing this because it's a perfectly okay speaker. It just sounds like crap. And then once we do that, this is where I was actually surprised. You actually have to just kind of beat it out of there. Can you see that? So you just take it, take a hammer, and just whack the hell out of it. And there we go. One thing I did was right down in here, let me see that. Right down in here, we have the other side of the connector. And what I actually did is I just snipped that off, and you'll see why. I ended up using it. And this just pops right out of here, or at least it did on the other side. There we go. Alright. One of the things that I did was I used some of the stuff that was in the packaging and I stuffed it in the door. You don't have to do this. You can put the crossover, and this speaker has a crossover, so I want to make sure that the crossover doesn't rattle because I'm not going to mount it. I just took it and I stuffed it inside the door. After I put the paper stuff in the door, I got me some bubble wrap, and what I did with this was I cut some just wide enough, as wide as the crossover, as you see. Again, not something you have to do. I just did it because I wanted to kind of protect it, and I guess these things don't really heat up, so it's not that big of a deal. But anyways, I took it with the bubble side out, and I just wrapped the crossover in it. And I don't have any electrical tape with me. Electrical tape may not be the best thing to use, but that's what I have right now. And I put 2 pieces of tape on there. And then I stuffed it inside there, inside the paper, so that way it wouldn't rattle around while I was driving or damage anything while I was opening and closing the doors. So you get the idea. Before I do that though, what I'm going to do, I'm going to have to run this wire in here. I forgot to mention, you might want to have some wire strippers also. And what I did was I took this connector, and I stripped back some wire. And then I connected it, I connected it to this here. Let's see, we want to take a look at this and connect it. The blue, which is really strange because it's red and blue, the blue on the connector is going to be our positive. Okay? Even though the blue over here is negative, I'm assuming the blue would be negative because red I think is always positive. So for the purpose of this video, yes, red on here is going to be our positive and blue here is going to be our positive. So we're going to take, let me confirm this here. We are going to take, I don't know how different all these speakers are, but we're going to take the black with the white stripe and connect it to the blue, which is supposed to be our positive. I'm going to twist this on here. Not exactly sure what these little things are called, but you use this to connect it. Put it on here, and then you crimp it down. Nice and tight. Now, as I said, this is just what I did. You can do it any way you want. And then you do the same thing for the other side. Now we got those on there, just kind of give them a little tug, make sure everything's nice and tight. I'm going to take this and I'm going to run it up inside. You just stick your hand in there and find a hole. I'll be pulling it through and then putting it back through again, you'll see. You just pull it through, connect it. And the reason I'm doing this is because I don't want to cut into anything factory. I've tried to avoid that as much as possible. Same thing with mounting the crossover. I don't want to mount it anywhere. I'd rather, just in case you're going to sell your car in the future or whatever, you avoid that as much as possible. And then I'm just going to push this stuff all the way back through very carefully, making sure I don't tear anything. And just let it sit in there. And then another thing I also did was I went on ahead and I tied these back together. You don't have to do that. Just try to keep everything nice and tight. So pretend that this stuff is wrapped around the crossover. Blah blah blah. You probably don't even have to tape it, but anyways, just stuff all that stuff in here. Paper in such a way that it won't move around too much. Then here's where the fun part comes. After you have your speaker in here however you want it, I tried to get mine nice and centered. What I did was I lined up the holes with the rivets, or whatever the hell you call those things. So one thing that I would note is there is a little bit of play with the speaker. What you're going to want to try to do, probably, if I'm not mistaken, is try to get it in the upper right hand corner, and then this is for the right door. For the left door, you're probably going to try to get in the upper left hand corner. I say that because when I went to put the panel back on, and the bottom here, it didn't actually, I mean, it's fine. I'm going to go back and try to do it again, but it didn't fit perfectly. So I have this here. You're going to want to try to hold it in place with one hand. I believe I used a 7, so that seems kind of big. Well, regardless, you're going to want to use one of these drill bits that is obviously smaller than the actual screw that you're going to be screwing in there, unless they're all the same size, I don't know. I'm going to play it safe and use a 3/32. I'm going to implore you to be very careful while doing this. You're going to drill your holes, pre-drill them to make it a lot easier for when you go to actually screw this stuff in. And if you try to do it without doing this, you'll see why, unless you have better luck than me. But just go on ahead and carefully try to drill your holes in the center of the hole here. You don't have to go very fast if you have sharp drill bits. Two. Alright. Okay, so I'm sitting here trying to figure out why I couldn't get the speaker in there, and what I completely forgot to tell you was this thing right here. This is actually like on here, like this. Oh, Jesus Christ. And you have to actually take some kind of tool, or however, it's kind of like, you know, bolted on there or whatever. You just take, what I did is I just used this and just kind of like knock it into there and just pry that sucker off, because like you cannot get the door panel back on pretty much if that thing is on there. So you just take that off, you know, put everything back in there, throw your door panel back on, and you'll be good to go. So I'm gonna go ahead and attempt to screw this in here now, and hopefully it'll work. Now that I have like 5,000 holes in here. So we're just going to do 2 holes, and hopefully that'll be good enough for the purpose of this video. C, connect your window power. And remember, there's a little bit of a lip here. You gotta set it over this little lip right here. Just like pop it over there. And pop it back into place. I'm going to start down here just to make sure everything fits. And it does. So then you just put your 3 screws back in. The one back here, the one down here, and the one right there. And you'll be good to go.